All right, good morning. Thank you for coming in. We are here, have a public hearing on a petition to abandon Hughes Creek Road public right-of-way easement for Hughes Creek Road beyond the lock gate located on the west boundary of Mineral Survey 5898. Before we go there, we have an affidavit. Glenda?
You do. This was ran in the paper of record in the Ravalli Republic on January 11th and January 18th for the notice of public hearing, which defines the petition to abandon Hughes Creek Road public right-of-way easement for Hughes Creek Road beyond a lock gate located at the west boundary of Mineral Survey 5898. It states when the public hearing will be held, and the purpose of this public hearing is to take public comment and take action by resolution.
Dave?
Morning, my name is Dave Campbell, resident in Hamilton. Okay, well, many of you know I'm the retired ranger at West Fork, and I have driven to the end of the road and parked a pickup at the end of the road at the trailhead that was used for many, many years. And if you look back in the files, you'll see plenty of affidavits about the use of that road by Forest Service employees, by people using it for recreation, to go up there and park at the end of the road, and beyond where apparently the viewers went. So it does go there. And I think simple math is really in order here. The county road was declared for 12 miles from Alta. The gate's about 8 miles. So follow the math with me. 12 minus 8 is 4. And there's 4 miles of road that has been blocked by an illegal gate since the gate was put in because it's never been abandoned. So just a little point that I'd make, they talk about it accessing Forest Service property. It's public property. It's owned by the citizens of the United States. This is not denying the Forest Service access, it's denying the citizens access. So I just hope you'll read in depth Supervisor King's letter, which I think states the case very clearly, was reviewed by the Office of General Counsel, been very thoroughly researched by the attorneys, and states it very clearly. The gate is an illegal gate, the road goes beyond that, and the public has been denied access. Thank you very much. Unless you have a question, but I'm sure I was absolutely clear.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Greg.
Other public comment?
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify regarding this matter. I'm Jim Olson, O-L-S-O-N. I'm a member of I'm on the board of directors of the Ravalli County Fish and Wildlife Association, and I'm a member of PLWA, the Montana Wildlife Federation, too. I'm testifying on behalf of the Ravalli County Fish and Wildlife Association this morning. I attended a hearing, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, regarding this road and the illegally placed gate on it. What came out of that hearing was that the commissioners would send somebody up there after the snow melted to see where the road went, because there seemed to be a lot of controversy in the hearing and whether it touched public land or not. And it was found that it did in several places on that. And then you're supposed to make a decision, but I guess nothing was done about it at that time. Ravalli County Fish and Wildlife Association has worked with the Public Land Water Access Association regarding this matter, especially when we were informed that the road above the gate was going to be abandoned. One of the things that's come out in this hearing and came out in that previous hearing was that road was not used very much, actually no use. It's pretty hard to use a public road that's got an illegal gate on it. So I'm sure if that gate was removed, things would probably return to a more normal situation. We've been working with PLWA on this, and we've been helping them with expenses regarding this matter. You have received a letter from us at the time of that original hearing opposing the illegal gate, and we're opposed to this road being abandoned also. You received a letter from Public Land Water Access Association. That was back in March, I believe, opposing the illegal gate that was on that road. You have that in your records also. In October, you received a 16-page legal document provided by the Getz Law Firm regarding this road and explaining to you the past history. That road is a designated public road and was accepted around 1890 to 2000. All of the statutes that apply to this situation were in that 16-page letter that you received from PLWA. Statute said it's illegal to close a road that provides, a county road that provides access to public land. That's pretty plain and simple. It also states in the 16-page letter that you got from the Getz Law Firm that there is a state statute that says you cannot abandon a public road, county road, that provides access to public land. You have a letter from the Forest Service opposing this, and as Dave Campbell mentioned, it's pretty well researched out. We request that you do not abandon this road. A problem arose for one of the Fish and Game Department wardens. He was chasing a violator, and the violator got behind the gate, and he couldn't pursue him any further. The Letica case, or the Modesty Creek case that was referred to by the attorney that spoke earlier, one of the things that came out in that was that the case was won because that was a road of record. The Hughes Creek Road is also a designated road of record. Thank you for the opportunity to participate and testify.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Other public comment?
Good morning. My name is Ryan Don Saleh. Last name is spelled D as in David, O as in Oscar, M as in Mary, S as in Sam, A as in Adam, L as in Lima, L as in Lima, A as in Adam. I'd like to show my appreciation to the Commissioners Board for allowing us to speak on this topic, as well as to Glenda, your administrative assistant, for keeping us informed of the date and times of this particular hearing. First of all, I'd like to clarify some information that clearly illustrates that we have standing in this particular matter before the board. As the steward, and that's exactly what we are, and I believe former Forest Service Ranger Dave Campbell had mentioned, we are the steward of tens of thousands of acres of public lands that are accessed by this Hughes Creek Road. I would draw your attention, back here, this green area here on this particular map projection show the amount of ownership of the area that's accessed by this particular road system. That's National Forest. It's that green area. Some of the uses of this particular area include hunting, fishing, hiking, horseback riding, camping, recreational mining, potentially commercial mining should somebody file a claim in that particular area, commercial timber management, hazardous fuels abatement, single-track motorized trails use, as Mr. Bugley pointed out, noxious weeds abatement, and emergency fire suppression. Those are all charges that we have for this particular area and illustrate the necessity of this road and this access to us. So I know many folks are very focused just on the recreational aspect of this road and the public access. I'm fully supportive of that, but I wish that you would recognize that there are some other uses out there other than just that. And I'll produce some documents later on in my presentation that support that, 50. A couple other things I just want to make clear to you folks. We have stated the Forest Service has gone on record with letters June 26, 2017, September 26, 2013, and most recently January 19, 2017. As well, just a year ago, I guess almost to the day, I was before the Commission on this very same topic. Very clearly, as stated in our most recent letter, I want to make it clear that our position is the abandonment of the Hughes Creek Road is in no way compliant. It's in direct conflict with Montana Code Annotated 7-14-2615, paragraph 3. And I know that was cited by Mr. Bugley also, but I believe our position would be just the opposite of what he has stated. Also, the abandonment is quite clearly in direct conflict with Ravalli County's own written policy, and that's the natural resource use policy that was passed through Resolution 2978. And we've spoken to that on other projects that I've presented before outside of this one that I've presented before the board. And finally, I want to make it clear that abandonment of any portion or any segment of this particular county road without the appropriate conveyance to potentially a local landowner could definitely create what we refer to as an encroachment or a trespass situation on National Forest System lands, where we have authority under our federal regulations to pursue reciprocity or potentially realignment, moving it onto private lands and such as that. So please just keep that in mind as a cautionary statement. Some of this particular road was petitioned by the residents back in the early 1900s. It was constructed using county funds. It was accepted by the county commissioners. It has in no way been abandoned. That's quite clear in the record. Like I said, this accesses tens of thousands of acres of public domain lands. And I want to make this clear, and this is in direct rebuttal to Mr. Bugley, but there are no other public roads or rights-of-way that provide substantially the same access as the Hughes Creek Road. Now, I will admit, if you will, and full knowledge, there is a single-tracked trail, the Hughes Creek Trail, 650, that comes into this particular area. But keep in mind, that doesn't allow for the timber extraction, potential for commercial mining and such as that in this particular area. And later on, I'll present some documents in support of that particular position. Obviously, the commissioners have viewed this particular road at least twice that I see in the record, most recent 1982, and then, of course, most recently, October 11th, 2016. One of the points I do want to make with that is I did go on record during my last presentation that I requested that I be part of that particular outing, that particular viewing as a concerned landowner. Keep in mind, we're the largest landowner up there. I was not informed, nor was I invited on that particular outing. So I would ask, if I was a private citizen, private landowner, would that have been different? That's something I want to draw to your attention at this time. With that, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys carefully considering and thoroughly considering this issue before you choose to abandon this particular road.
Yes, sir. Good morning. My name is Kyle Nelson. I am an attorney at Getz, Baldwin & Geddes in Bozeman, Montana, and we represent PLWA. We had submitted written comments to the board back in October, as I think Jim Olson mentioned, and I won't repeat those comments at length. I just want to make a couple points this morning. And the first point is that the Hughes Creek Road is a statutory public highway, and that has some key legal significance. It means that there is a statutory 60-foot right-of-way on that road. So in each instance where that road does meander into public land, the public has a right to use the full width of the road, the full 60 feet. That includes, even where it's on private land, if the easement touches public land, the public can access the public lands from that public easement. So that's a key point. The second key point about a statutory public highway is that they cannot be abandoned by non-use. They cannot be abandoned by a county resolution. They can only be abandoned by the statutory petition process, which the process is going on right now. So this talk about prescriptive easement and adverse possession, that sort of thing, that doesn't apply here. We know this is a statutory public highway for at least 12 miles from the West Fork Junction up to and through the Woods Placer mining claims, which actually, as we can see on these Google Earth maps and the materials we submitted, that actually goes to the mouth of Emmett Creek. We can see the road on at least the cadastral map we show, which I think is our Exhibit 8. We can see that road goes up into public land in that very last Wood Placer mining claim, which is Mineral Survey 5884, I believe. So just to make it clear, this road has not been abandoned beyond beyond the gates. It is still a public highway beyond those gates with a full 60-foot easement. And in each instance where the 60-foot right-of-way crosses into public land, the public can use that and access public land from there.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Actually, two questions. One is, do you have evidence to support the at least 12 miles that you stated?
I do. And so in our materials, there is the PB Bennett petition. So our Exhibit 1 to our written comments includes, I think, 12 or 14 pages, maybe 17 pages, but page 6 of that is what is called the PB Bennett petition. And that petition describes the road as running from the old Alta Post Office up Hughes Creek Road to the Woods Placer mining claims, a distance of about 12 miles. So that's where that language comes from. Some of the viewers' reports, so I think on our Exhibit 2 at page 3, there's an old Ravalli County Journal entry that shows that the Hughes Creek Road was accepted as a public highway in 1900. They indicate the viewers' report used for that acceptance was the Stearns viewers' report. I think that the Stearns petition or viewers' report indicates there's a 13 miles, and there's also, one of them even says 18 miles, and one of them talks about the mouth of Emmett Creek. And so there certainly is some confusion, or there's no precise description on where exactly that road ends, but we know it is at least 12 miles.
Well, the Commissioner's Journal had an approval of that, and that referenced the Bennett petition, which was 12 miles.
Correct.
So there were some previous petitions that petitioned an 18-mile and a 12-mile. Those were, as far as I found, those were never acted on. So it seemed like the Commissioner's Journal, where they actually took action, was 12 miles from the Alta Post Office.
That's correct. The journal entry does state approximately 12 miles. It doesn't say exactly 12. It does say use the language approximately, or about, I think.
There are some that say 11.8, quite a few.
And then
There are some petitions that say 11
There
point.
are, the interpretation of the 1967 Board of Commissioners resolution, blah, 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 ends up saying that at least a distance of 11.8.
Sure.
So you got a little bit in there.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Schallenberger, and I appreciate that's a much later dated document. I was just referring back to the early 1900s, yeah.
Well, right,
Yeah.
close to 12 is.
Yeah, it is close to 12, you're right.
And then my second question was
Yes.
the 60-foot right-of-way
Yes.
width. What's your evidentiary source for that?
Well, it's in, I wish I'd have brought the statute number with me. It's in Title 60, that all public highways have a 60-foot right-of-way. And this is a statutory public highway.
That's correct.
It's 61 or Title 61 or Title 60. I'm sorry I didn't bring that, but the only distinction is if there's a public highway that was obtained by prescriptive easement, that easement can be less than the full 60 feet. But if it's a statutory public highway, it's the full 60 feet.
So if you have a road that goes through, when we looked at this where it crossed Forest Service, I don't think we were using that and I don't know, I guess that would be a question, or were we just looking physically where the road surface meandered in and out, or did we go 30 foot from the center line and see where that touched? Because I guess the map would look differently.
Got center line on there. You can figure out where that is, where it crosses and stuff.
And that could be
I do have a CAD file. I mean, I could lay on the 60 foot and see if there's.
I don't want to do that. I was just so if with that 60-foot easement, if the center line was 12 feet away from the property boundary and you had that 30-foot easement on each side, I guess essentially does that make it?
I mean, that puts the easement from private land into
land.
public land, and the public can access public land from the public easement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Mr. Chairman,
Just any additional questions?
can I just ask Howard if he totally agrees with that, or is that illegal, or what?
No, we can do that.
We can do that. Typically do it after the
Okay.
comments. Go ahead.
So Howard, do you agree with what he just said about the 60-foot easement and the statutory highway part? Is that?
Yeah, let me give you a reference, 7-14-2112. And that's been a feature of Montana law for a very long time.
Can you say that again, please, Howard?
7-14-2112.
But in short, you do agree that it is a 60-foot easement?
Yes,
Statutory highway or whatever he's...
correct. I do agree with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to conclude, gentlemen, I just would ask that the board deny this petition and also take action to remove these gates on the 8 and 9 mile markers, which are clearly on a public highway. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Ravalli County Fish and Wildlife, we requested that the road not be abandoned. We also request that you take action to remove the gate. Your decision is going to have to be based upon the facts presented and what the state statutes say. Thank you.
You know, another aspect to the public access that hasn't been discussed, and I didn't think about it till I heard that 60-foot right-of-way, but stream access due to that 60-foot as well. So anywhere where that road does meander within 20 feet of the creek, I guess that would be subject to stream access and access at that point as well. So you're not only looking at the Forest Service boundary and that 60-foot easement and public access there, but the stream access law where that road gets within a close proximity to the creek.
Now we get to the point where the argument becomes emotional and heated, and I think sitting up here I can see all sides of it. The issue still becomes, let me back up. I wish that whoever was sitting in this chair in 1967 and again in 1984 would have dealt with this. I think it should have been dealt with then. The bottom line is that a lot of what we're discussing here happened as a result of someone throwing a gate up and saying this road was closed outside of the law. The gate still remains.
It's going to be hard for us. Same time, providing public access is something that this body, through its natural resource use plan, has fought for with our neighbors within the Forest Service, and it's something we've defined in policy, and that is part of this issue. Protecting private property rights is really important. However, one thing is a little different here, and I don't think anybody in this room was part of this, and maybe they were, but there's in my opinion, and I'm not an attorney or a judge, but in my opinion, we have an illegal encroachment, a gate across a county public road. And that has elevated the enjoyment of that private property for decades for those people above the gate. I get that, and I wouldn't want to give it up either. I really wouldn't. But the fact remains, that's in our findings of fact, we have made the determination that it is a public road for somewhere in the neighborhood of 11.8 to 12 miles up there, and this gate is clearly obstructing access to that length of the road, or a portion of that length of road. And finally, statute limits us to how we apply our discretion, and part of that is clearly substantially the same access to public lands and water. And I believe that in and of itself, everything else aside, I don't think we can with a straight face say it is substantially the same access. And I have friends sitting on the other side of this issue, and I'd sure like to give them the nod, but I don't know how we can do that. So we have a motion. Any other comment? Any public comment on the motion? Any public comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify with aye. Ray?
No.
Jeff?
Aye.
Doug?
No.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Our next order of business is discussion and possible decision regarding the gate across Hughes Creek Road.
Well, it goes hand in hand with the discussion that we just had. So I don't know how you talk about the petition without talking about, and we heard from a couple say that we've got an illegal blockage of a road. So how do you, I think if you feel that it's an illegal blockage, how do you not address it when you're having this discussion?
You need to issue an order to remove the gate.
I think there's a series of statutes that talk about the county's authority to remove encroachments, starting 7, 14, 21, 34, and there's a couple that follow thereafter. May provide some guidance to your discussion. In fact, we should probably go up to 33, which is specifically county roads. Yeah, so 7/14/2133 talks about county roads. 7/14/2134 talks about removal of highway encroachments. I think this would fall within the definition of a highway, and here we're also talking about fences, buildings, or other matters, and the Board of County Commissioners giving notice, requiring removal, and a little bit further in the code, I think it authorizes court action to remove if necessary.
My name is Kyle Nelson. I'm an attorney at Getz, Baldwin and Geddes in Bozeman. I represent PLWA. I don't want to sound unreasonable, but the statute does use the word immediately with respect to the encroachment. I don't have a I haven't, of course, addressed this with my client. I didn't know this was coming up today. But I think it is reasonable to give the landowner some time to kind of sort out the kind of winding nature of the private-public land intersection. I don't think June, this summer, is too long. I think this early spring would be a reasonable time. And I think Jesse mentioned 90 days. That does sound reasonable. But I just want to reiterate, the statute does use the language immediately, and there are penalties for each day a encroachment remains on a public highway. I just want the Commission to be aware of that. Thank you.
Make your action effective now.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to reiterate what I said before. We need to make an order. We need to order that encroachment removed within a certain period of time. And 120 days sounds good to me. And I would move that we do that.
I would second that.
So Howard, you would draft an order?
If this is approved, I will.
All those in favor of the motion signify with aye. Doug?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
I vote aye as well.